Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite to my right is Sam, _Bo3. And to our farthest right, per usual, your left is Rex, Shady, Nero. And guys, it's another week in the books, another week of great, exciting, big-time news. A lot to talk about today. A lot of AM scene stuff with the last chance qualifiers going down for their side of things, and some roster changes in the Call of Duty League, some drama, and some potential news / leaks from Hecz himself about CoD, the CoD League next year and its format potentially. So a lot to talk about today. But first, before we get into any of it, I've got to ask, guys, what's going on?
Josh and Sam,
Hey,
I am feeling like a spring breeze, just a gentle, quiet spring breeze is going right underneath my legs, right up and just touching the hairs underneath the crotch. And just breezing past them, making them wish in the wind. And it's giving you that freeing feeling that, you get.
Oh,
That's how I feel right now.
man, you had me up until the hair, man. You had me.
Yo. Oh, no. Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I just
Rex, you need to wear tighter shorts.
kind of gives you the heebie-jeebies. Doing good though.
But it's been some beautiful weather here.
It has.
Which is, we've been enjoying it for sure. Like mid 70s. Like what in the world? It's actually nice outside. What? In August?
Yeah.
But that means nothing to most of you guys out there. But I hope you guys, are ready, strapped in for another epic episode. As always, you can follow us on Twitter, SalvationsElite, myself, _Bo3, and Rex Shady Nero. Sam's seeing ghosts over here.
There was something,
what in the world? And you can follow us on YouTube?
I think YouTube. I think Spotify
and Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And speaking of Apple Podcasts, we want to read a review today. Maybe even 2 if it gets that good. Shout out JJ Weaves with the 5-star review. Awesome. He says, awesome podcast. Can always rely on them to deliver unique, informed takes on the pro and amateur Call of Duty scenes. Love it. So
Thanks,
nice, short,
JJ.
sweet, to the point.
Thank you, JJ.
And one more.
Reese. Stay
One
fresh.
more from another JJ. JJGIBTHBB
Wow.
says, what team would you want? He says, love the pod, and also one question. What team would you want to see join the CDL? I would love to see 100 Thieves in the CDL.
Ooh.
Is there any specific current org in the esports scene that you'd like to see in the CDL?
United.
Like Liquid?
I was gonna say, I bet Rex says United.
United. Easily.
Yeah, that's by far the best take there.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I mean, I'm definitely excited about Rise potentially.
Potentially.
I'd love to see Cloud9 back in the COD scene. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, well, thank you for the review, JJ number 2. We appreciate you guys. And who would you want to see in the CDL? But we got a lot to talk about today, obviously. I mean, do you have anything else to say before we get into the news? No?
Let's get right into the
All
news.
Right.
No,
Let's do
one.
it.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
Bangaranga, baby. Oh, my word. This was a weird week in news in the COD League. I mean, when it comes to, this was a quality over quantity week, some big-time moves. There's one big-time move that happened right after our last podcast, and I think we want to open up the show today with that, because the man himself, GodRx, has found himself on the bench, which is absolutely insane.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that, dude?
No.
Back in February, when GodRx was at the beginning of the season, Minnesota Rocket were dominating a top 4 team for sure, debatably a top 2-3 team in the league at the beginning of the year, and GodRx was the man for him, and now he's on the bench for Exceed.
Jeez.
I mean, off the rip, what are your guys' thoughts on the whole situation?
So, I mean, I know there's a lot of drama surrounding this, and they had to come out with, they're on Reddit doing an AMA. They're making videos about why they did it. So clearly they knew going in, this is going to be a pretty dramatic thing. Mainly because they dropped him when the only event left is champs. So now it's so he did all this up to this point, and he was a big catalyst on why they were set up as they were for champs. Because in the beginning on LAN, he was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And like he set them up really to stay where they are because they basically went online and basically just fell flat the whole time.
Mm-hmm. They made top 8, right? Because of because of their beginning win, like
because they started off so hot.
Yeah, and it was because GodRx carried. Yeah.
Oh, that's so gut wrenching.
It's tough.
Like, I think, sorry, no free shout outs, but there was a podcast that was
this random podcast
talking about this. But like, do you think he gets any of that money if they win? Hypothetically,
well, they talked about
Rocker
that.
win.
So
does he get a percentage?
Supposedly he gets a little bit, right? Based off what Saints was saying.
So what happens is that GodRx, he gets all the like. So if they don't place it all in champs, or like they just stay top 8 and they don't go anywhere further, they don't win any games. GodRx gets all that money for it.
Right, the first round money.
The first round money because they're so high. They're guaranteed winning money already.
But like, if they make the run, GodRx isn't getting any of that money.
If they make the run,
that's going to exceed.
It goes to exceed.
Jeez.
But I honestly kind of see why they did it because GodRx was slower. So like, I don't know.
But like he wasn't this. Was he the slowest player on that team?
I mean, it would be either him or Assault.
Yeah.
And you know, that's debatable. But I mean, like, of course, that comes with the role that he was playing on the squad. I mean, I don't know. Out of all the changes, how do you feel about it versus like another guy on the team? I mean, again, they did use the excuse of like pacing. They felt like, you know, the pacing's better now, and they were saying they've been playing really, really well in scrims, which is, you know, as anyone would say.
Is there any, like, am I crazy for saying I think it should have been a sim? Like, has he been doing
again?
much?
I mean, you kind of need the type of role that a sim provides right now in Modern Warfare.
They're just like in your face, fast,
and I think they're in a tough situation because Silly's kind of the glue of that team, and so it's like maybe he's not playing very well, but he is kind of like the guy, the mental glue of that team.
Yeah,
and then like you can't ditch your main AR.
No,
and Assault's been playing well this year. You know, and
I guess
so then
he
like
was
you
kind
bench
of
Alex. But it's like,
you don't bench Alex.
He's a main SMG, and he's been playing pretty well this year overall, besides his little injury stretch.
Yeah, I suppose. So
it's
then exceed, I feel like it could work, but it's just more gut wrenching for GodRx.
It
like
sucks.
That sucks. But I guess at the end of the day, it is, you know, the league. If they do perform better, if they make the run, then they can say it was worth it, because would they have made the run with GodRx on the team?
Maybe not. Maybe based off their last few tournaments, no.
No. So I guess we'll see.
So weird, because like, I wonder what where does GodRx's stock at now? Like for being picked
that's what's
up
really
off
interesting.
the bench next year. Where's he at? Especially because we know he's great on LAN, or he was, but was that a fluke sort of thing? Just because they had, you know, crowd momentum, people really wanted them to succeed. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty much under the belief that the online doesn't really have anything to do with why they're not playing well. I mean, maybe a puny percentage, like it correlated at the exact same time, but like in the same instance, like again, no free shout-outs. Again, the podcast this week with accuracy was really, really good, and they had a good conversation about this as well, because they you know, their episodes are on Thursdays, so it happened right before their episode, like. Yeah, I really agree with that. Is like that they were playing well online in scrims early on in the year too. They were beating FaZe, they were beating Empire, they were beating Huntsman in scrims online prior to, you know, May. So it's like, why? I really just don't think online is the biggest reason for why they're not playing well. The meta caught up with them. They probably got stuck in their ways because like they thought they figured out the game early on, and then they didn't change after they thought they figured out the game when they had only figured out a portion of it early on in the year before everybody else did.
Yeah. So
yeah.
At some point, I think they held out for as long as they possibly could. You know, probably saying to themselves, "Oh, we were good on LAN, so we had to be okay." But they lost so many in a row. I'm sure they just like we got to make something like
right. And that's the thing.
We can't keep sitting here saying we're playing the game right when they are literally losing every game for weeks.
And like, you know, you can't act like nothing's going to change in the meta over a 6-week span where nobody's playing competitive CoD. Of course, things are going to change. Teams are going to get better. They're practicing online, and then as the rocker, maybe you're just making that excuse like, well, it's just the online.
Just the online.
Once we'll figure things out, But things changed. Teams got better, and the rocker kind of got left behind.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of which is just unfortunate overall. But yeah, when it comes to GodRx's stock though next year, I mean, again, accuracy when asked, who do you believe is the most overrated pro in the league? He said GodRx.
That is pretty crazy.
At least in accuracy's mind, his stock isn't as high as what I'm sure a lot of fans would think.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't know.
Does accuracy speak for all the pros? Probably not.
No.
Obviously
not.
not.
I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see what GodRx does because I think he's a likable personality.
For sure.
And so I hope he gets something, and I hope he kind of proves everyone wrong because that would be a great storyline to see. GodRx was at the top, now he's at the bottom, being benched, and he rises to the top again. Is known as one of the best ARs. So I would love to see that.
Yep. I'm worried he might get stuck depending on what happens next year. I'm not sure how many options he's gonna have though. Mm-hmm. We'll see, but I don't think at this point pros see him as the top half tier player.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like that at least. So I it'll be interesting to see how he judges himself. If he's willing to take the roster of the mid tier players type roster and work their way up again, like what Minnesota kind of was this year. Yeah. Or whether or not he feels like he deserves to be on an elite roster, Yeah.
I think he'll take what he can get at this point.
Yeah, probably.
But it's weird because is he gonna stay on the rocker next season?
Right. I mean, they did him pretty dirty.
He's gotta be pissed. He doesn't want to play with those guys.
He handled it really well, all things considered. He could have roasted him.
Yeah. I'm sure internally he's probably kind of fuming, but he professionally on Twitter, social media, he took it really well. So
yeah, I mean, about as good. He had a few little sub tweets, but it's what are you gonna do? Of course, you're gonna have some sub tweets.
I mean, anyone else in that position, I feel like probably would have gone off. But to be dropped before the biggest tournament.
Could you imagine if that happened at Temp or something? Imagine what Temp would do.
He
would say some things.
Oh man,
yeah,
he would.
He would let it fly. But I mean, I'm sure we'll be talking more about the Minnesota and how they're looking and this roster as a whole. And then of course, after Champs Rostermania, we'll be talking a lot about GodRx and the situation as a whole. So that's pretty exciting overall. But let's move on to the other few pieces of news before we head into our segments here.
Yeah.
Shotzzy dropped a YouTube video, which was a weird timing for this. So he dropped a YouTube video about a new movement, which is, I don't know, there's not really a name for it yet, but it's like a pop-up hop. It's like a
drop shot plus a jump.
It's like a drop shot jump timed right. So you basically on the opposing team's screen, pop into the air immediately.
On your belly, you're on the ground.
Really weird. Yeah.
You go from belly straight to in the air.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really weird movement glitch. Look, of course he's out here. Shotzzy's the one exposing it, but he's been doing it for apparently a while now. But for some reason he decided to announce it right now, and he put out the video, and Clay was like right before Champs, dude.
Everyone's like, "Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me?" But but then I saw some pros this is a big brain move. He's making people rethink their movement 2 weeks before Champs. This is big brain plays. But I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, who knows what else he has under his belt? This could just be something. This could be something that he's just kind of feeding the fishes a little bit. I mean,
honestly,
here's a movement.
Yeah.
But weird timing, but looking more of big picture, I'm super happy to see pros making content, just in general.
That Shotzzy thinks it's worth it.
The amount of pros that we've been saying forever that just make content, build a fan base, because you don't know how long you have in this league.
Yeah.
You could be amazing for 2 years, and then the third year someone else comes up. So build up your fan base now. So I hope he keeps doing this. I hope this isn't just a one-off. He just dropped it, but good for him. He kind of looks a little awkward, obviously, but everyone does in their first YouTube, whatever. So
yeah,
I keep going, man. Keep building a fan base. But yeah, weird timing.
I guess you could say awkward, whatever. But I think Shotzzy just has that gravitas about him, where it's he can be whatever, because
he can do whatever he wants.
His movement, seriously, the guy, he's just talking and running around. Just him running around and looking at things. I'm why is that so smooth and so clean all the time?
So yeah,
like there's no stuttering. It's the cleanest movement I've ever seen.
so skillful.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Insane.
I mean, again, no free shoutouts, but Octane, like he's been doing a great job with the content, and it's good to see that. I think his success. I mean, he's like at over 60,000 subs now.
I think so.
Or like basically like going into this year, he was like at like what 10, 15,
maybe 10,
maybe 10, and he's basically only posting competitive gameplays.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's playing like CDL or maybe posting a scrim here or there.
Yeah.
He's not really playing Warzone or anything, which is interesting. So it's cool to see that like the competitive scene's really embraced his content, and like it's nice to see because he's actually using a nice mic now at things where it's like thank the Lord, because so many pros just like use their Astro mic for their content, and that drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. And so it's just like I can't wait to see like what hopefully down the road we can continue to get more and more content from the pros. And I think Octane's done a good job of like showing them the potential of what consistently uploading and like putting effort into your content can actually do.
Yeah. And then like with that too, like we get like a little behind the scenes stuff. Like when he posts a video about his ranting on Twitter, like you get more behind the scenes of like pros thoughts and pros takes on the current situation, which I think fans want to see. Like there's so many times where like people want to like know like, okay, what are you thinking here? Like what happened here? And Octane like did like I think that one video where he just explained his thoughts on the whole. It was when Slack dropped out
and he was pissed. And
he was pissed, and like I just think that creates more backdrop and more storylines.
Communication is so necessary for competitive COD.
You can only like get more fan base from there. So I really hope more pros start doing that, because again, they're making money. The fans get more content. I feel like it's just a win-win. So
my favorite videos are when Scump does his post-event vlogs.
Yeah,
those are
awesome.
I love those from him.
Yeah, like
and they're literally the simplest things ever.
Yeah.
He just turns on his camera and just talks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because then like especially if they're like honest too, it's like he'll say like we did not feel good going into that.
Smoked,
I got smoked.
I respect that type of stuff.
Well, like that's awesome. Like keep doing that. Like
every pro should be doing that. At
why,
least the post-event
vlog.
The post-event vlog. Literally, there's no really editing. Just turn on the camera, say some
start
stuff,
talking,
and then turn it off and post it. Like that's all we want.
I know. I'm
every
surprised
pro
like
did that.
attaching
How
apathy
many
and, like,
people would be so involved?
I know.
I totally agree. It's just weird.
Anybody can
The
do
guys
that.
who already have channels, why aren't they doing that? Like apathy, attach, and Priesta, and like those guys already have like established channels. So it's like, why aren't they doing that? It's just weird.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't get as many views, maybe it only gets like a third of the views that like a great gameplay would get. But like it's just simple and easy communication. So
like I'm sure Priesta's he's been doing a ton of Warzone content. Like I'm sure he's like, if I don't post Warzone, it's gonna get like no views. It's like, but you're helping grow the scene more,
and it'll start getting more views the more you do it. It's just kind of the snowball effect of YouTube. But alrighty, I mean, the last piece of like news segment, newsy stuff besides like Challengers we're gonna be talking about, and then we're gonna be talking about next year's format in its own kind of segment as well. But the last piece of news is the whole AGN situation. So if that means absolutely nothing to you, have no idea what that means. Basically, AGN's like a amateur tournament organizer. They do like tournaments and like league type content or league type events, things like that. Things like that. And they were hosting an event in Indianapolis. And this has been planned for a while now. They're going to be hosting a big event in Indianapolis. And basically, they weren't sure if they were going to be able to host it because of COVID. And long story short, they were like, all right, this is happening. We're doing it. If you want to come to this LAN event in Indianapolis, it's happening this weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
And all the players get there, and Activision basically tells them, like, you cannot run this event.
The day before. We will not let you run this event. And so then AGN's like, okay, this is an online event. This is an online event. 24 hours prior to start.
Almost all their players are already in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So they actually, instead of delaying the event to be online, like the following weekend or something, they just say, it's online.
But
and then all the players show up to the venue anyway, and they have a little sign that says,
absolutely
no LAN connections.
which is really interesting. So pretty much all of like higher ups at like Esports Engine out of Epicella, all the like pro owners were just roasting these guys.
Like, do not host this event.
And apparently some of the players were even tweeting out we were playing on LAN settings for halfway through, and then they told us to get off. They told us to get offline. So like, it seems like the AGN staff were kind of helping with the LAN.
It's hard to say because
it's hard to say. Like,
then,
this all speculation.
Yeah,
obviously.
one player posted on Twitter like a long tweet, and it was like basically went there, and after that, then we didn't see any of the staff ever again. They just kind of all just disappeared.
Yeah,
and we don't know where they went.
Yeah,
and they were all pissed. The pros, they didn't get any refunds, and we don't know if they did at this point, but it doesn't sound like they did. And it was just a complete mess. I mean, you can have your debates about whether or not it was safe or stupid or smart or dumb or whatever, but like at the end of the day, like if Activision is telling you, like you can't be doing it.
Yeah, like you need to actively be, and like some of the owners too are saying it it's not our problem. We said it's online. It's like, okay, yeah, you did say it's online, but there was easy access to
you should
to the
postpone
venue
it to the following weekend or 2 weekends in the future or something.
Yeah, I think it was just a blunder on the owners' parts, and I think they got their roasts.
From what I read about it, it was that they apparently were asking Activision about it for like a few months, but Activision just like wasn't responding to them.
Right.
And so once it was like, and then I started going through their Twitter, and they were just saying like, we're going to be doing it. Like, it's LAN's on, we're doing this LAN. And like, they were doing that the weeks leading up to it. And then eventually they got, the day before, and then they're like, unforeseen circumstances. That's when Activision finally said, no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
That's hearsay. They're saying Activision never told them, and like that, they were waiting for Activision's response, and they never got one, so they just went and did it. And then 95% of the players were there when the LAN was going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's hard positions. Like, what are you supposed to do with those people?
Yeah.
And they should have refunded them, but
they should have refunded them and then done a tournament later on.
Yeah,
online,
like
probably.
you got to refund, then you got to postpone, because if you don't postpone, you're basically telling the players it's okay to get together at this LAN center
and just do it.
Are you supposed to refund their plane tickets too? Like,
right, that's
there's so
tough.
much expensive stuff that they would have to refund for, that it's like, I'm sure they probably
but at the same time,
afford.
the players probably knew that was a potential risk, I'd imagine. But I don't know.
Yeah, and you gotta blame the players too. It's like, why?
Like, I think an argument too you can make too is like, if AGN was being like, responsible, they should have had this just themselves say it's online from the get go once COVID all started.
Yeah, that's what they should have done.
Yeah, that's that's kind of what the big like.
It just ain't worth it. Like, it's just not worth it.
It's not worth the risk. Like, whether you think that it's a big deal or not, like their public perception now is so low. Like, no one wants to work with. Like,
I mean, Bob Morris, the operations director, ex-MLG guy, one of the the lead MLG guys in the past, who now works with Seattle Surge, basically was like, any player, coach, any AGN staff, they should never be allowed to play in the CDL, work in the CDL, work with the CDL, anything. These guys should never be allowed in the CDL.
Just a ban. So I think some of these guys may have like kind of ruined some bridges there. So
yeah. That's what's gonna be interesting to see if like that actually ends up playing out like that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it just wasn't smart overall.
Yeah.
Anyway, just because of public perception, because of safety risk, because of everything. Really.
Yeah, really.
It was not a good call overall. But I don't know. Any other thoughts there before we move on?
I think that does it for me.
Alrighty. Well, let's move on to this first segment here. We're going to talk a little bit here about the Challengers LCQ, which last chance qualifiers for this weekend, leading into the Challengers finals next weekend, or, basically like 10 days away or so. So, real quick, next week, though, we're going to potentially be having our first guest on the podcast, which, surprise, surprise, guess who it is. But we'll be seeing it. We'll be talking a lot of amateur COD next weekend and some predictions for the finals, which is going to be really, really exciting. I think based off the coverage this week for Challengers, which was pretty good for like a last chance qualifier with, a lot of like lower end teams. I'm pretty interested to see what's going to happen next, or, in 2 weeks for
I think it'll be
finals.
Really cool. Yeah. I'm excited.
I mean, overall, like, what are your impressions of the broadcast and the event as a whole? Like, what were your thoughts in that regard before we even get into like the teams and outcomes?
Personally, I was happy. I was content with what they had. They brought back some old faces that we haven't seen in a while. Jess Brohard.
That was cool.
I Hold Shift. And then Spaceman.
Yep.
And then bringing them all back, and then Rondez Fox was in there. A lot of these faces have kind of been around, especially involved in the amateur scene.
For sure.
And also, it's just the fact that we casted these games for the last chance qualifiers. My only issue I had was that it was kind of hard to figure out what these games meant to these people. Like,
yes, like where they were in the tournament.
Where they were in the bracket turn. Like, if there's some sort of visual is really what I think would have been necessary.
Yeah, they need more graphics. I agree.
But I will say this is like Challengers is like so massive, like just bracket wise.
Right. The amount of brackets, going on at once.
It's like, and like amount of games that are happening at the same time. I feel like it'd be really hard to do something like that. And I have a feeling that at the Challengers champs that
finals,
they will have a bracket and everything. I just think it's probably really hard to do with this. But I will say it's just I didn't follow what these games meant to people, you know.
Yeah. No, I just follow along. I again was pleasantly happy. Like
they had post game interviews.
It's pretty cool.
I was surprised to see that.
They honestly could have not even streamed the LCQ and just kind of like updated us on what was going on, but they took the time to actually do it, which was really cool. I know, like, you know, a common thing throughout, you know, our podcast has been, you know, we need to see these challengers support, you know, streams, casting, and
get some personalities out there.
I think they provided it for us, you know, and so I'm really excited for the 15th and 16th, you know, champs. And yeah, I think they're going to, you know, once the brackets are set, they're going to, you know, have some good graphics, you know, hopefully, you know, that hasn't been confirmed, obviously,
right.
But yeah, I think for, you know, closing out this year, really, it's a good, you know,
again, I think if you put $500,000 tournament at the front of whatever the title of the stream is, like, it's going to get at least some eyes, which is really cool for the amateurs as a whole. I mean, I'm really excited for it. Like, I mean, when it comes to the tournament itself and like the teams and the players and everything else, like, it was interesting to say the least. So in North America, because of how it worked with the roster lock, basically what we were talking about last week was the teams that played at the Toronto Open, you know, if they played there and they had enough pro points, or aka Challengers points now, they would qualify. The top 32 teams or whatever qualified for, or the top 24 qualified for champs or whatever. But now, you know, because of what we learned, basically, if you wanted to make a roster change, you were forced, even no matter how many pro points that roster had combined, if you made a roster change from Toronto, you had to play in the last chance qualifiers. And it was seeded by pro points. So, of course, Atlanta FaZe, which is kind of the news of the whole weekend, after all the drama that happened last week with Sib and everything else, he's back in the lineup. He's back. Guess who's back? Back again. Sib is back. But, like, that was some crazy stuff. I mean, like, where you at with Sib and Atlanta FaZe?
Sure. That's fine. Whatever.
I know. Like, we like spent, you know, like a while talking about like, is Sib gonna get a second
like
chance?
2 days later, like he's back.
Like, oh, okay. I guess they've forgiven him. Like, you know, he's like, I guess that's good. You know, give him a second chance. Whatever. Just like they said, like they're gonna get first, or they're gonna get into the qualify. So
they're gonna qualify.
Whatever. Cool. Good for them. Like you said, Rex. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird. You're like, this is a big deal. They just kicked him off for saying something. And then now he's like, well,
I'm back.
Did he say something? I don't even know. Like, that's what FaZe is. Yeah. I don't know. It was just a really weird situation. They kick him off the team for saying something, and then he's back almost immediately afterwards. Like,
I mean, he's lucky and he's in Challengers, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, it sets them up to still get a spot next year in a row. I mean, they're very likely to have a chance. I mean, they have a very, very good chance to win this tournament.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of money on the line for them individually, and like a lot of reputation going into Rostermania and the potential of expansion teams and everything else. So I don't know. I mean, the other kind of like, you know, big name team there's probably like 2 or 3 big name teams that were there. The biggest ones was J4L, which was Equip and Cypher's team was there. And then West R, which was Spoof, Fame, Glow, Frosty, Pollux, and Zaptius now again were there as well. So those are kind of like the 3 big name teams to play in the last or in LCQ that everyone kind of knew the names of, and of course they all qualified.
Yeah.
I mean, basically the only other big names like Mochilla was playing, but like
yeah. That's fun.
Yeah. So I mean, when it comes to like the results themselves, the teams that qualified were Atlanta FaZe, J4L, Team Degeneration, Westar, Team Degen, Revive HQ, Hectic Esports, and Exio in North America. For like the top teams that made it, and then 9 through 12. There's a whole bunch of teams, but yeah, those are the teams that qualified. And I mean, Atlanta FaZe just literally breezed through. I mean, they were pulling out snipers and hard points.
That's so demoralizing for their team. In the LCQ to get a sniper pulled out on you.
We're trying to qualify for champs and a guy's using a sniper on us.
Oh, that's
so depressing.
Well, we suck.
So So I just have a question. So not counting FaZe Academy, or other than FaZe Academy, do you think there's any team that has a chance of actually challenging these other people who already qualified?
Well, besides Westar and FaZe Academy, because obviously Westar does.
Yeah.
Are you saying like from the LCQ?
From the LCQ, does anybody actually have like a chance?
I mean, J4L is
far,
like competitive,
or even win.
J4L has like is going to be competitive.
Yeah,
but after that, probably not. I mean, I would expect all these teams to probably finish bottom 8.
Yeah,
probably lose both their games. You'd assume
more than likely. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it would be surprising if any of them actually made a run at the end of the day, but it's possible, I guess. But
that's the thing. I hope one of them does. I just hope. Revived HQ just makes a random, just crazy run and like gets like second in the tournament, and people are like, "Wow,
yeah."
And it's just crazy though, because we've seen such consistent results throughout the whole Challengers scene. It's it's almost hard to bet against anyone other than FaZe, Westar, Parasite's team, and then obviously there's no cross region, so like you think Team War and Singularity over on the Europe side, but yeah, It would be kind of cool though, like some no-name team, like you said, from the LCQ just makes a run. Like, well, they just won.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
I mean, they might be set up. Whoever wins this, I feel like most of those players, if not all of them, are going to be picked up next year.
If there's expansion,
yeah, as
and
expansion,
then does it move to 4v4,
maybe even subs. Like, I have a feeling that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I mean, we don't know for sure yet. I would imagine that it's now reseeded. Like I wouldn't imagine that the top 24 are seeded 1 through 24 and then you add in the LCQ, or once the LCQ qualifies then you reorganize at the top 32. Like Atlanta FaZe, there's no way they're gonna be like a 24 seed, right?
Yeah,
they would be the number 1 seed.
It's probably pro points after all the teams are in.
I would imagine it's reseeded. That wasn't clarified, but I would imagine that's how it is.
That'd be
that'd be so unlucky.
That'd be so dumb.
That'd be so dumb. That has to be how it is.
It's probably at pro points, yeah.
Yeah, so on the European side of things, basically, there was a few names in the European side, but nothing too crazy. Basically, the names were all right around there. So Clutch Rain Esport, Voltage Esport, Energy Crew, the Pigeons, 10 Euros Squatty, the Noodle Hair and the Boys, Chuck Vision, and For the Win Esports were kind of all the ones to qualify. No, like, really massive names in the European side of things that really had to come out of there and qualify for the most part. I mean, again, when you look at the team in the pool next week, it's the teams that you'd expect. Singularity, all the Frenchmen, and then you look at, obviously, at Team War as the favorites to win it. And then same thing in APAC, kind of nothing too crazy there at the end of the day. And the biggest thing was really the NA qualifiers because of the roster changes there, all resulting from Sib rejoining Atlanta FaZe.
Yeah.
So nothing too crazy.
Yeah, but do we want to talk about on the Europe side, Amelia Rose?
Yeah, probably. I think that's worth talking about. So basically what happened, there's a little bit of a drama in the European side of things because one team qualified basically and a female player qualified, which is pretty cool.
10 Squatty is their name.
But the whole debate though is that they're accused of, ringer, which basically means that somebody else is playing on another person's profile using a false identity or false gamer tag for someone who's playing. And they are being accused of doing that by multiple different players. And like someone claimed that they knew for a fact that they were doing it. Again, we don't know we don't know yet if that's the case, and I'm not sure exactly how that would play out if they got banned or if like the investigation comes through and they actually were cheating. But that is something to look out for, and that could be a potential like switch up with the bracket inside of the European scene.
Yeah,
I'll just say I think it's legit because I went and I found this girl on the Gamepedia, and because she has one and she's been around for a little bit.
Yeah,
at least Black Ops 4 she played in the Open, and she won prize money at the CWL London Open. So like,
yeah, it kind of sounds like someone just mad, honestly.
Yeah, it's like she's won money at a LAN before, and the fact that she made it through last chance qualifiers for Europe should not be crazy surprising thing,
Yeah,
like to think she's cheating is like why it's like saying that's not a good equivalent, but like Parasite's using a ringer or something. It's like he's not. Like he's won money, he's done things, and like she's also done things within the scene.
I play for money.
Yeah.
No, like she's got a history of like playing well, so like it's probably just a dumb rumor or dumb accusation that someone was just angry that they took her spot. But
it was worth mentioning. The last thing is the drama in the AMP scene about the RAM, and basically led by Parasite. Parasite's been using the RAM inside tournaments for a little bit now. Obviously, they won the Toronto Open with, again, that was the 5-star squad with Exotic Fire, Noisy, Parasite, and Goonjar. And they won it. Parasite's like, I am using the RAM at Champs. And he basically tweeted, you can use whatever you want against me. You can hold my sack. I am using the RAM at Champs. Try to stop me. It was basically what he said. And so we'll see. That could be the biggest drama potentially going into the finals is our team's going to like full on break GAs. In the LCQ, it looked like almost all teams were using auto tac sprint. So we'll see if that ends up being a thing inside Champs. I would imagine it's going to be like, I don't know. We'll see if the bigger teams have more morals than that, but
yeah, we'll see.
I mean, when that much money's on the line and your career's on the line, I wouldn't be surprised if people are just like, well,
I'm just gonna do it.
I'm gonna use it anyway.
You think pro teams are gonna use the RAM? Or the RAM is no, it's not GA. That's right. That's why Parasite said he can use it.
In the pro side of things either, because they just never really no one pro's really been using it.
Yeah,
but it is possible that the pros start trying to switch things up and use it, but it is hard to say at the end of the day. But we'll talk a lot more about the scene as a whole. I mean, do you have any thoughts about the RAM itself? Like,
I mean,
I've seen some crazy clips. I'm not gonna lie.
I saw a clip of Envoy using it. I think in scrims, which was it looked nasty, but I don't know. Like again, it kind of ties into like the whole AUG thing where people were seeing clips and then just instantly banned it. So
one guy's using it on a team that wins.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
people want to ban it, and people get so caught up in only M4 MP5 meta where it's like if any other gun comes in, like ban it. I don't know. I like seeing more guns in the game, obviously, but I don't know.
It's just like they're not even giving it a chance to test it out to see if it actually is broken.
I know.
Like that's what's weird. The same thing with the AUG. It's like, was it really broken? We don't even know because teams weren't even able to use it long enough to actually tell if it actually was broken. One clip got it banned.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of for letting it happen and see what happens. Yeah. I like a little bit of chaos in my life.
I mean, I don't like GAs. I crave a time when a pro just decide, I'm not using the GAs anymore.
Let's break the game.
I'm just gonna use whatever I'm gonna use and be good at the game. But I don't know. That's a dream.
Right. If there was a more established system in place, they would. But there's just it's still the Wild West for rule making in the COD League right now. But all right, let's move on to the format talks. All right, next year's format. This is pretty interesting. So last week in a few different situations here, Octane was on the East drop. And this is the first big news. The Hecz basically asked Octane, it's like, what do you think about the format next year? And Octane was like, obviously a little uncomfortable. He's like, I don't think we don't know anything about this yet. But Hecz was like, basically asked Octane, like, what do you think about like 2 or 3 LAN events next year with the season continuing online? And Octane completely deflected the question and completely answered nothing about that. But CDL Intel confirmed that he had heard the same thing. He said, I was told privately So I didn't actually leak the news because I didn't know for a fact that was actually the case. But then Hecz kind of confirmed his thoughts, and so then CDL Intel felt it was like okay to now post about and talk about it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's kind of in the works right now. Hecz and Octane talked at length about a bubble and like creating a bubble like the NBA is doing, getting all the players there and doing it. Like I'm not convinced that's that feasible, and players would actually agree to do that. I don't know.
Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. I just feel like with being gone for that long in a bubble, like the NBA is going to be gone for like,
Didn't we do that already for like the Pro League and Black Ops?
Yeah, but they were only there
3?
for a few weeks at a time. The bubble would be like they're there for like 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So it's a difference of like 2 to 3 weeks to 4 to 5 months.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking they could just do 2 to 3 weeks, but
because of Corona, you can't do that. You have to stay there for extended periods of time.
For a while.
It would have to be at least like monthly shifts. It would be at least a month.
Mm-hmm.
But there's probably different ways to figure it out. I don't know. But long story short, I mean, how does that make you feel? 3 potential LAN events next year, 2 or 3 online.
Here's the thing,
right?
Here's the thing. If they're going to do 2 or 3 LAN events with an online season, it's like, I don't understand that. Like, just because you're doing less LAN events, I guess, makes it better. Otherwise, I would
imagine it just means pushing it to later in the year.
I guess. But otherwise, I would say just do the 2 to 3 week Pro League thing. Like, have people come. Like, everyone promises that they're not going to go like out and party and stuff. They go do their tournaments there. They stay there 2-3 weeks, and then they go back home and they quarantine at home. And then they quarantine back at the Pro League.
Yeah, they're pro players. They don't leave their houses anyway.
I mean, that's how I'd prefer it to be. And then no fans at all. I liked the Pro League. I always looked forward to it. Just having 2 or 3 LAN homestand events with an online season, it's like, well, I feel like going halfway is just weird. Like, either go all the way and do a bunch of homestands or don't do any.
Yeah, because we're assuming these homestands are going to be like a Pro League where it's just the teams are there.
I would imagine
just playing LAN,
unless they're holding out hope again. Like, we don't know what that time frame could be. It could mean that they want to start the season online in December, and so they're going to play online. First event of the year is going to be in December online, and then like December 5th or whatever, and then you're doing that, and now you start your online season, and then hopefully by like April they can do a LAN event.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, like if that's kind of like what they're thinking is, obviously doing online first, and then hopefully by the time March comes around, it's like, okay, maybe we start getting LANs together. Then that's cool, but at the end of the day, everyone's at the mercy of kind of government regulations and more importantly, public perception. Like, Activision's not going to do anything that's going to be in any way create a risk for a player
or their brand
or for the brand. So that's kind of what's the driving force here. So
that's the problem is that Activision. Sorry to cut you off.
No,
but you're totally right. Yeah, at the end of the day, Activision, like, competitive CoD's not bringing in revenue, so they're just trying to minimize any damage that it could do to their brand long term. And if the New York Times picks up an article about how Activision is hosting a LAN event during coronavirus,
then their stock plummets. Obviously,
then it hurts their stock and it hurts their money. So they're not going to do it.
Yeah. So like,
and that's what sucks.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they're thinking.
No. Yeah. And you can't blame them for wanting to do that. Yeah, they're a public company, obviously, and so honestly, at this point, I'm going to take what I can get and just go in with open mind. But I know like the pros are just they do not want to play anymore online. Like they're. Do
you think Slasher would retire?
I think
in that format,
he'd for sure take a break.
You think? He would not start the season?
I feel like his mental state right now, I think he's like...
Well, once shit's happened, he ain't playing COD for another few weeks. He's taking him 2 months off.
So like, maybe that kind of a break would be good for him, but I don't know. He just seems... His tweet... If he's like what his tweets are saying, he's like... He might literally just be done.
Yeah, Rex, what are your thoughts on that? Like Slasher?
I have a feeling Slasher will stick around.
Yeah, I kind of in the same boat. I think he was probably just more angry tweeting than anything.
Kind of in the moment.
I think what he wants change, and he wants upgraded servers. He wants more server locations. That's the biggest thing, really. is if we're having an online season, there needs to be servers in Denver, in Minneapolis, in Chicago, in Kansas City, in Phoenix, in we need a lot more servers in the West to make up for the Seattle, for the LA, for potential expansion teams, for whatever it is. We need more servers for them to have more options than either you're playing on Chicago, you're playing on LA, or you're playing on Dallas against Dallas.
Yeah.
They don't want that.
Yeah.
They don't want that. And that's what would make Slasher retire.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't get me excited, which is really disappointing. I mean, I was just hoping like we're going to full send. The bubble would get me hyped. I would love that. I would be hyped for a bubble. Like, oh my, I'd be so hyped. I mean, basically, the worst news for people is it sounds like Challengers is 100% going to be online. Like, I mean, if they're only going to have 2 or 3 LAN events for the pros, there's no chance they're having Challengers events on LAN. So it is I don't know. That's not ideal. That sucks.
The thing they were saying with there's going to be 2 or 3 LAN events. I think they're more thinking if they're going to do it is they're hoping to have 2 or 3 LAN events. But if Corona is still around and strong
it's not happening.
As it is, they're just not going to do them. Yeah. So
exactly. It's I don't know. I mean, I used to be an optimist about it, but now I feel like I'm a pessimist. Where it's like I don't know, just because big corporations are going to take literally zero risk if there's an online option.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would put my time frame as we're not having a LAN event till at least April.
I think they're going to do a bubble scenario.
You think they could actually pull it off?
I mean, the NBA's doing it now.
Yeah, and
so
we have,
the NBA does it. It's public. People are okay with it. So Call of Duty does it. People are going to be okay with it.
I agree.
NBA did it.
I agree.
They can do it.
I agree, actually.
I
think the bubble could work.
Ohio?
And maybe and probably in LA.
Well,
maybe LA.
Maybe not, because they'd want to be able to do it somewhere else. But I don't know if there's really any other situation. I mean, the studio's not there anymore though. For the MLG studio.
Yeah, I keep thinking of this. It's not though, is it?
It's not. So I don't know what they would do. Maybe you do it in Dallas because the esports arena is there in Dallas, and there's already 3 teams that live in the area. Like a lot of players live in the area.
That could be a good idea too.
It could be Dallas area or Frisco.
But yeah, no, that'd be sick.
I mean, Huntsman would be hyped. Oh my.
Yeah, just to get the players playing on LAN, whether there's fans there or not, just getting a fair fight for everyone.
Yeah,
that'd be cool
for sure. So I don't know. I mean, I would be hyped about the bubble. The content would be crazy awesome, but I'm not convinced that Activision has the balls to pull it off, and or the owners want to dish out the money to actually make it happen. Yeah. But I think it could work if they frame it in the right way. I mean, like, think of it. The NBA has 10 times the amount of personnel that COD League has, and it's working great for the NBA right now. So hopefully we can figure out something to make that happen. Which I'm a little bit optimistic about it. But if that's the case, I would imagine it probably wouldn't start till like late January again, which would be pretty depressing. So that'd be really annoying if that's the case. But all right, let's talk about the 4v4 rumors as well. So this has been talked about in 2 different places now. Hecz and Indi on their podcast, No Free Shout Outs, talked about it. And Hecz was like, have you heard the rumors of 4v4? And everyone's like, what rumors of 4v4? What rumors of 4v4?
What you talking about?
So these rumors that Hecz is just loving leaking information right now. This dude's spilling things.
He's getting fined left and right.
Apparently, I mean, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but like if Hecz is hearing that, I mean, that has to be coming from like owners.
You would think some people with some higher up authority
or influence.
So,
and then Accuracy on the Codcast, Accuracy Pack and Nameless talked about these rumors as well, which I'm imagining they were referring to Hecz and Indi, but maybe not. It could have been the other way around as well. But both ways, it's interesting to say the least. I mean,
it's crazy.
Imagine a world next year where there aren't expansion teams and you move to 4v4. It seems almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're cutting 12
saying
pros.
Bye-bye to 12 pros. Holy
and there's already
cow.
Seems like there's like no freaking starting spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be crazy. Could you imagine? I mean, it would be a fun, maybe in the future we do like a what if it moves to 4v4 and like who do you drop from this team? Who do you drop from this team? Type situation would be pretty cool. But I mean, what are your thoughts on 4v4 versus 5v5? Rex?
I like 5v5. I've always liked it. I think it's fun to watch. I think it adds, I don't know, a nice layer to it, especially like coming to like seeing how they set up for S&D. I think is like, I find S&D more interesting. 5v5.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I almost think it's the opposite.
Really? I mean, they say it's more like crazy, but I think that's the fun. You can always have like one other guy who doesn't have to sit in a lane or anything. He can kind of float and do what he needs to do. So I find that aspect of it interesting. But it also depends on how the maps are designed. I think that's really the biggest part of it. Is like, are the maps designed for 5v5 or the maps designed for 4v4? There's definitely maps back in the day. In Black Ops 3, like, you're not playing that 5v5, some of those maps. Like, that would just be way too much.
No, yeah. It didn't work. I mean, they tried, like, Slums did not work.
No.
5v5. All those old maps. I mean, Firing Range, no way you're playing that 5v5.
Yeah.
You know, all of those old maps. Summit, not happening. No. You know, they tried that in Black Ops 4.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on map design. If the maps are designed 5v5, make it 5v5. If they're designed 4v4, they gotta go 4v4.
Yeah, I haven't really like made up a definitive like decision on whether I like 4v4 over 5v5. I guess it didn't like really matter. Again, like we were saying, as long as the scenarios around whatever you have works, then it's fine. But it seems that the pros are pretty outspoken about the majority wanting 4v4.
Which is weird.
Which is kind of strange to me.
Because they're limiting their jobs. I mean, obviously the best players would want 4v4.
Yeah.
I guess.
But I guess I don't really know why. Like, it's not obvious to me why 4v4 is so much better than 5v5. Like, is it just like communication-wise?
It's the pace of S&D, the communication. The hard points is just, it's pure throwing your body at the hill sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, but we have had 2 games that like inherently encourage that. Like, you know, it would be weird to go back and play like World War II 5v5.
Yeah.
Or like playing Black Ops 2 5v5 competitively and see how that feels.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced it'd be better, but again, I agree with you, Rex. The maps is really what is the key.
Yeah.
And but I mean, we've had 2 years now of 5v5. It's not bad. It's definitely not.
Yeah, no, I haven't not enjoyed it. Like, I haven't been like, oh, this is terrible.
Yeah. But I will say, I think I do prefer S&D at this point right now 4v4. Personally, at least for sure playing it. Watching, iffy, but playing it, I definitely prefer 4v4.
Yeah.
I think the pacing just feels a little bit better.
Yeah.
You don't have to like rush at bombs as much in 4v4.
Yeah.
You can play lanes. There's not an extra body on defense where you don't know for a fact if they're always watching the flank.
Yeah.
You know, like because of the timing of things. So I don't know. I think 4v4 just throws a little bit more interest in it where you can like make some more plays. But at the same time, 5v5 watching it with more personalities on each team
pretty cool.
Is pretty good at the same time. I mean, it would just be crazy having to cut one player from each team, which is where I'm kind of like, I think I'd rather probably have it keep it 5v5 unless you're adding 4 more teams. If you're adding 4 more teams, then I could maybe see you justifying going to 4v4. But that's a tough situation for players to be in.
And even have 4 teams ready to buy in 25 mil.
Right.
You know, so.
And probably only Activision knows at that point.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say.
Yeah. Okay, it comes down to game design. Is the game designed for it or not? And that, I think that's the key point, really. But the big thing that I think actually we should hit on is that uplink needs to be in the next game.
It's just so
4v4, 5v5. Uplink needs to be in it. Just one game mode with jetpacks, please, and make it uplink.
I know. It's just I'm right there with you, but
it's gonna be CTF.
I'm right there with you, but it's just the time period does not allow it. It just unless you're doing this alternate.
Bro.
I know.
It's Cold War. There are secret technologies that we don't even know about today. Did they have jetpacks? We might have jetpacks out there that we don't know about in Area 51. So
maybe it's like super loaded spring boots. You know,
that could work.
Like you bounce from really high.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: it doesn't have to be the whole game that has to be that same movement. Boots on the ground. Just if there's an uplink game mode, you strap on the jetpack. That's it.
But do you think pros would be okay with 2 different mechanics within the same series?
I don't care. I think it'd be so fun to watch, though.
Oh no doubt it'd be fun. But like,
again, it's probably going to be controller CTF. I mean, at the end of the day.
And as a casual, like, even if you're like a casual player, like, it's just being able to have that variety of like, oh, I want to play with jetpacks, so I'm gonna go play the jetpack game modes, or I want to do boots on the ground. I'm play the boots on the ground game modes in the same Call of Duty game.
It ain't happening, fam.
I don't know
why
it
no
can't.
way.
It's just like, just structure the maps right.
That's so un-Call of Duty of them.
That would be interesting though. That's for sure.
Like certain maps
it'd be
are
interesting to
boots on the
see
ground,
two different
certain
like
maps are
movement
jetpack.
styles inside one game.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, it's kind of like, in BO3 they had a boots on the ground mode, but at the same time the maps weren't made for like it, so it
a
played
true
terrible.
boots on the ground experience.
So I don't
And
know.
maybe this is where subs become big. It's like, oh, we have our jetpack subs and we have our boots on the ground subs. Like,
I would
So
I
for
would put
certain
my money
maps
on
that come up.
Control being. I think people like Control.
I think
it
Control
worked
was
well
fun.
last year.
Yeah.
I think overall I put my money on Control being the game mode for competitive. If I had to bet,
Just get rid of Dom, man.
yeah, it
Yeah,
ain't
Dom
Dom
is-
ain't it. Obviously not.
although we've had
But,
some exciting Dom games, but
Yeah,
Dom
true.
isn't
I
it.
feel-
It's been
Yeah.
more exciting lately. Actually,
Yeah.
I think
Lately,
Dom's
for
gotten a little
sure.
bit better.
I feel like as like teams like have grown into it, the game's been more exciting. But like early on, it was rough. It was like the game's over, 5
One
minutes
blowout.
left. It's like
Again,
oh.
they should have had they should have implemented the rule by now that if you can't mathematically win, the game ends.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Again,
don't know why they
CTF
don't.
would be awesome. Like my idea, if you allowed rallies,
I'm about,
infinite amount
dude,
of
this is a
rallies.
great idea.
I think it's a great
We
idea.
need to promote this idea.
Yeah, we really should.
A rally where you can unlimit as long as you
As long as you
capture a
within,
flag
like,
and
3
capture it again
seconds.
within a certain amount of
Yeah.
seconds after you capture it if the game's
Just
tied
keep
or
going.
you're losing.
That makes them intense. Like
You could be up by
Oh.
5, but then get rallied at the
Yeah.
end and tie
That'd
it or
be so
lose.
sick.
I
Yeah.
think as long as the flag's not home, then you can keep going.
yes, or within 3 seconds of a cap. Like 3
Yeah.
seconds, you got to grab the flag within 3 seconds.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so then you can keep rallying if you're down by 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Which would be crazy.
That'd be all
Games
fun.
could go on forever.
Oh, they could. They could.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
like,
I feel like
you-
most rallies would get squashed, but
Yeah. Like you
Maybe
need a rally plus a flag limit. Like
Oh, you can only,
get to
come
6
back by 2 or something.
Yeah, or like your overall game stops if you get 10 captures. Or
Interesting. I can see that.
I don't know. Yeah, just throwing some stuff out there.
CTF could use some rule tweaks.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah.
But the other small thing there that Hecz mentioned on the podcast with Andy was that the pros have definitely not tested Cold War yet. He was like, we should be testing this game. He was like,
Mhm.
I mean, we are the COD League, and we have some pretty popular personalities at the COD League, but yet we don't get access to the game early. So he was kind of complaining about that, which obviously sounded like the pros have not tested this game yet. But Mox did say that they had been consulted,
Mhm.
but they had not played it.
Yeah.
So I was hoping we could get some crazy news about that and maybe like, oh, dude, the pros have already played this game. That's
They've been
crazy.
testing it. Yeah.
But that's definitely apparently not the case.
No.
So which is unfortunate, but yeah, you hate to see it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's the podcast for today, boys.
PC or console.
Oh, that's the question. Good question. We didn't bring that up.
One little.
So I mean, yeah, they were debating that a little bit. PC versus Hecz thinks it's going to go to PC.
Yeah.
But he didn't sound like it was like for sure going this year.
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
I was gonna say I have predictions that not this next coming,
but the following
the following. I think it'll be PC
2022
with
or
controllers.
2021's COD.
Yes.
2021's.
Yeah, I feel like it's way too soon to already switch. Like I'm sure PS4 or Sony already have.
Money talks though.
I know. See, it's the thing that gets me from like not saying 100% PC
Because the PS5
next
is
year.
coming out this year. If you're going to change, it'd be this year, right?
I feel like Sony is willing to dump
for a new console.
a ton of money into the CDL. Like they bought it out from Microsoft. Like, I think people like, or I've already forgotten, Xbox had the exclusivity up until Black Ops 3. Sony
Right.
bought them out, and then
I think the bigger question is whether or not they're doing like, is it like a Battle Royale plus COD League type of deal, like with
Oh,
Activision, or
yeah.
is it just a COD League type deal?
yeah, that'd be
with-
interesting.
With Activision,
Yeah,
because is Sony getting a deal for just the COD League,
just the COD League or like all
or all Warzone,
Yeah.
Blackout, whatever Battle Royale tournaments as well? Because
Yeah.
if that's the case, then I would imagine they would definitely see the value in that.
yeah.
But maybe like Sony would be like, I mean, we don't really need the COD League, but it
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
would be nice to have the Warzone
Yeah.
/ Battle Royale stuff as
Mhm.
well. If that's the deal, then I think I would imagine we're with PlayStation.
Yeah.
Do you
If
think
not-
Battle Royale Warzone will go to competitive? Like,
No, but like they host
Just, like,
they host tournaments.
hosting
they
the
hosted
tournaments.
like a handful of tournaments this year
Like
for Warzone.
like the pro players couldn't play on PC for the Warzone weekends. They had to play on
Yeah,
PS4 because Sony's
exactly.
hosting it.
Warzone weekends is the big deal. Like
that
that's
will
the thing.
definitely go to PC.
You would hope so.
I mean,
If
there's a lot of personalities on PC.
No, but again, like that's the question is I don't think Sony would allow that in a deal.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I
If we're
see.
getting a deal,
If
it would
Sony's
be
getting a deal, they want everything.
they want all of it, not
Yeah.
just competitive COD.
Mm-hmm.
they want all of Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So that would be what would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And like whether or not maybe like Nvidia is willing to, because I feel like they're the only company that could probably like, I mean, Intel or Nvidia.
Unless AMD, like,
unless Microsoft
throws out a bunch
is
of
giving
money.
them a deal.
I know.
Not for Xbox, but for
For
PC.
PC. Yeah.
Which would be weird.
It's just weird because
you don't have
having
to get a
hosted,
deal for PC. You just use the PC. I don't think there's deals for PCs.
The only way they're not gonna take Sony's money is if they're getting a deal for PC.
You know, Activision wants the most money, right? Like, at the end of the day, they want to make money,
You
and they
think
don't actually care about
the potential for
competitive CoD.
growth on PC is
They don't care.
massive.
Well, yeah, and like we all know too, the competitive state would be better. Like having like playing on PC would be just way smoother, obviously. So, but again, at the end of the day, it's about the deal.
It's about the money.
Who wants to throw out the most money?
I think,
It's
Josh,
going to be
you
Sony.
just don't want it to go to PC.
No, I
have no problem with
do.
PC with controller.
Yeah,
I mean,
PC, like,
go PC with controller or whatever, but if
PC
it goes PC
controller-
with controller, eventually it's going to go into a hybrid. You can choose whatever you want.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't see that happening in the next at least 5 years.
I know. It'll be interesting to see. I do
Really?
hope for the sake of competitive that it goes to PC. Controller, mouse keyboard, whatever it is, but it just needs to be played on PC for sure.
I mean,
But
I
I
kind of
just
don't
hope
think
it
it's going
stays
to.
controller, but
I mean, what do you think's going to happen?
I think
What-
it's.
I mean, do
I
you-
think it could be 2 years from now, not this next season, but the season after that. I could definitely see them being like, "All right, we're playing on PC controller only," and then they're going to go to PC. You can use mouse and keyboard or controller,
Choose
and that's
what
where
you
it's going to
want.
end up being.
Hmm.
Hell, they
I
might
think
not even just do the controller only on PC. It might be like, okay, we're just doing both. You can go mouse and keyboard or controller,
Yeah,
The only
or
reason
two separate
why
leagues or something.
the only reason why I think it is possible that it could be sooner rather than later is that there was no Call of Duty trailer with the Sony launch. They're like
right.
Where they
they had
showcase-
GTA, they had
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
and usually part of Sony's thing is showing a campaign of the next Call of Duty
Right.
or something.
So
But
was that
there
because
was-
it wasn't ready,
that's true?
or which I mean, based off
Yeah.
the timing of this now, probably maybe
Yeah. So yeah, it literally could have been just because Call of Duty wasn't ready to be shown anything. But usually something is said like Call of Duty trailer.
Yeah, when
PS4.
they're launching a brand new system and they're not
Yeah.
talking about COD at all.
So I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
so up in the air.
That is the biggest argument, but at the same time, it's like, why wouldn't Sony be willing to shell out the money for their brand new system when they're trying to beat Microsoft?
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to, then Microsoft's probably willing to.
Yeah.
And if they're not, I mean, like that's just kind of the debate. It's
I
like,
know.
I feel like it has to end up on console.
Yeah.
When the whole scene's on console, everyone's playing on console. It's going to end up on console because a console's going to be willing to spend the money to make it happen.
I don't know. I could see them creating two separate leagues, one for PC, one for console. Then eventually their hope is that they end up PC grows enough attention that they can just merge them.
Man,
I think that's what their
that
hope
would-
is. It's everything's
chance.
better
that
on
would break
PC.
up
There's no
so
scene.
much. Yeah. That'd split the scene too much.
Yeah, there's
I
no
feel
way
like-
that's happening. It would split the scene too much and like cause there'd be
Well,
too
they're
much
going
going
to
on.
create a competitive outlet for PC players. Like that's just going to happen.
Maybe.
Well,
It's going to start with
it'll probably
Warzone.
be like
It's going to grow.
crossplay.
It's going to start with
it'll cross with
Warzone. and it's
it'll
going
cross
to
with
grow.
I mean, they have crossplay on game battles.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
but
like,
I'm
you can
talking about
play mouse and
more
keyboard
like
on
people
game
like
battles.
actually wanting to compete and go to like LANs and stuff, but they only play PC. Like I play PC and like I want to go to LAN, but I can never go to a LAN. There's people who are going to be way more competitive than me, and they're going to be like, I'm on PC and I want to compete with a computer. And especially now with like, you know, it goes now we're in South Korea, China, these other places that use PCs primarily. It's going to become more popular there.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I agree.
That might be the responsibility of like tournament organizers other than Activision though. Like you'll probably see more like AGN type of companies doing PC only competitive
Right.
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do
crossplay type tournaments.
I don't
They'll
think
do
Activision
crossplay, yeah.
themselves will ever do two separate leagues of
Or they
console.
will never allow one or the other. Like they won't be like you have a PS4 or a PC. It'll
Yeah.
be one or the other.
Yeah.
And like
Well, yeah,
maybe
it'll be
you know,
PC, and then you can use controller,
With
mouse,
controller.
and keyboard.
Yeah.
well, it'll be yeah, right. But no.
I mean, how can they not
I
move
think
to
we all-
PC
yeah.
when it's just more competitive on PC? You have higher frame rates, you have higher everything. Why would you not move to at least controller on PC?
Yeah.
Again, the argument would be because of the popularity of battle royales and the PC growth of the COD community because of battle royales, but because competitive COD isn't battle royale, I don't know why you would move to PC. The PC community is such a small percentage of the competitive COD players.
Well, I guess competitive COD, but there's a lot of people worldwide that use PCs. Look at League,
playing COD,
look at all these other like CSGO, League, Overwatch. They get way more views.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here that we want it to be on PC controller, whatever. But I think the problem is going to be
it ain't happening.
It's where the money is going to come.
I think the only chance it would happen is if it happens right now, and it's because Nvidia or Microsoft says we want it on PC. Mm-hmm. I don't know why Microsoft would want it on PC instead of Xbox.
Yeah.
If
Microsoft
they move
seems to be
PC,
doing more
it's eventually
PC.
going to go to mouse and keyboard also.
Probably, but like I would imagine it's not till like for at least 4 years for mouse and keyboard. It might be less, maybe like 3.
Yeah,
but no less than 3.
Yeah,
but again.
And not
the only way it's
happening
happening.
Just like you're allowed a mouse and keyboard, and you're also allowed a controller. But a lot of people will probably just use the mouse and keyboard. Maybe.
Yeah.
Which there's debates
then,
about
like, you're
that,
gonna lose
aim
all your
assist and all
pro
that.
player.
I know. Yeah, but then there's
work.
There's going to be a long
That'd
future.
That'd be a crazy transition. I don't know how that would work. It would have to be a long developed thing.
Yeah, there's going to be debates of aim assist versus all that stuff too, which. There's already a ton of talk about it right now.
With how COD plays, though, it's always been made for a controller, and like the movement is easier to do on a controller at the end of the day. So like there is a world where controller players actually are still better than PC players.
I agree. I think the movement is way better on controller.
Yeah. So that's the debate. I mean, like could Shotzzy be better than Shroud if they both had the same game knowledge? Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like, yeah,
it's hard to
weird.
say. I don't know.
It's really hard. Like, it's really hard to compare the two. They're just different. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I mean, what do you actually think is going to happen this year? Do you think this year we're playing on PS5?
My prediction: we're playing PS5 for Cold War. The next Call of Duty after that, we're playing. So
they're doing a 1-year contract with Sony.
That, or there was a contract established that ends next year
after the launch of the new COD.
Launch of the new COD,
or of the launch of the new system.
System. That's what I think. I don't think it's going to be faster than that, but I do think it will be on PC with controller here pretty soon.
I think they will do a 2-year deal with Sony for the PS5, and then that's when maybe there's something else changes. Yeah. Rex, final bet. What's happening?
I don't know when the deal with Sony ends, or if it did end already.
We don't know.
What do you think?
Hell, like maybe next year it's the last year they have with Sony, so then it would be on PlayStation. My guess is that they want to go to PC as soon as they can, to go PC on controller, and then once they're PC controller, at some point or another, it's going to start transitioning into allowing mouse and keyboard in the competition as well.
All right. Sounds good.
Cool.
All right, guys. That is the end of the podcast right there. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. Myself, SalvationsElite, _Bo3, Rex Shady Nero. The podcast, all the likes, the comments, everything else that you guys do. We appreciate the support. Drop a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll be reading more of them in the future. And drop a comment on YouTube. And support on Spotify as well. We do appreciate that. But as always, guys, I'm Josh, SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash _Bo3 Sam. And to our farthest right, your left is Rex, Shady, Nero. And guys, we will see you next time. We out.